You're listening to Your Magical Midlife. This podcast is for women who are seekers, dreamers, and unconventional thinkers. If you're a Gen X woman who's always walked your own path, but now feel like you've lost your way, listen up. I'm Kate Higgins, your host. I'm a licensed clinical social worker and coach, and I'm here to guide you back to yourself and to help you reconnect with your joy, your passion, and your purpose. Midlife knocked me sideways. I was not prepared for all the challenges that piled up one by one. Everything in my life felt like it was imploding, including my health and my sense of self. By the time I hit 50, I was completely lost. But here's the good part. I'm finding my way, and so can you. I'll be dropping episodes every Thursday on everything from ambivalent aging, to body changes, to relationship shifts, to career challenges, financial fears, crazy family dynamics, and spiritual awakenings. Some weeks I'll be musing, some weeks I'll be ranting, and sometimes I'll have amazing guests who will share their expertise with you. Midlife brings a lot of change and a lot of challenges, but there's also so much magic to be uncovered. Let's dive in. Brenda Rigney is the COO and founder of the Aligned AF community and the X podcast. Her passion is coaching women in midlife who want to build the business of their dreams. She's a down-to-earth and smart woman, and I'm thrilled to share this conversation about ditching corporate and placing all bets on yourself. Hey, Brenda, tell everybody about how you got into this work. What were you doing before you launched your own business, and how did you pivot from being in the corporate matrix to running your own business?
Hi, Kate. I love to talk about midlife women starting up their business, like potentially leaving corporate and deciding whether or not now's the right time. And of course it is. There's never the best time. And so being able to sort of talk about that and even go down the lines of like, what's holding you back from starting your business right now? Are you thinking you're starting from scratch? No, you're a midlife woman. You've been on the planet for 40, 50, 60 years. You've got tons of experience.
I love that. I think that's some of the things I struggle with, and I've been doing my business for a year.
I have an evergreen community that's $5 a month for people to join. And I have a Friday networking call, which is evergreen. I try and keep my stuff evergreen because I don't want to be fixated on a launch plan. And I have a monthly masterclass that I also run. My background has always been in operations, sales, marketing, HR. I've always been sort of an operations generalist. My last role before leaving corporate was a COO of an $80 million business, and we were expanding throughout the US and Canada and then going into Australia. But I was also going through a divorce at the time, and my daughters, who are now adults, but at the time they were in that sort of like formative teenage year, lots of stuff going on with volleyball and basketball, and was all about their life. And I wasn't home, and I was going through this divorce. I was traveling 3 weeks out of the month, expecting to be a ever-present executive, like opening up in new markets. And I couldn't see how it was all going to work. And our divorce was just kind of lingering. It had been going on for like 2 years. Our lawyers were like, "Are you guys serious about this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, we're serious." And it was just like, I had to put my operations hat on for my life and actually start managing things that way. So the best thing for me at the time was to quit my corporate job. And I took a year off to get life organized.
Wow. And you decided, if I'm hearing you correctly, all the energy that you were expendituring towards the corporation, all the emotional, all the intellectual, all the creative energy that you were putting into this company for somebody else, you decided to circulate back to yourself and your own life and create your own business. Am I hearing that correctly?
Yeah, absolutely. And everyone that's listening, this might not always be the opportunity that you have, but I needed a year to kind of just heal myself emotionally, mentally, but also physically. Like I was kind of living off of Doritos and red wine, living in hotel rooms. And I needed to get kind of back to me and get grounded on what was important to me. And through that journey over the year of getting my kids settled and getting myself settled, getting the divorce finalized, and recruiters calling me going, "Hey, you need to come back to corporate," I discovered that this was the time for me to start my business. And I always knew that I was going to have a business for myself, but it was kind of one of those things where it's like, well, I'm going to work out my corporate days and become a consultant when I'm 65 or something. But while I was off for that year, I realized like, number one, I was spending probably a lot more money in my corporate job, like making money, but then spending money because I wasn't happy in my life. So I was just using a lot of spending money on things that I didn't really need. Being off for a year, I realized, okay, when I'm out of that space, I'm actually spending a lot of money. And I'm spending money on the things that really matter to me, like my health, spending time with my girls, and building myself up. So then it opened up this door to me, like saying, hey, why are you pushing off this entrepreneurial dream that you have? Let's start it now. And so I did.
Yeah. It takes a lot of bravery. I dreamt and dreamt and dreamt of leaving my corporate job. I worked for a managed care company
Okay.
a decade, and I was a worker. I wasn't a high level anything. I was just, I was a very hard worker, and I was told almost essentially flat out that there was no room for me to move up because I was a doer, and I was never good at fitting into that corporate culture anyway. Like I'm not, the political game, I don't understand it.
Right.
I have no filter in many ways. I'm just the queen of saying the wrong thing, being like, I don't like that idea, or that's a whatever. I didn't really fit in. That's fine. But there was a layoff at my job, and I wasn't laid off.
Oh,
much to my.
I was expecting you to say that you were, because like that is also something that's obviously happened a lot, especially to women, depending on our roles that we're in. We are the ones that face the layoffs the most. So,
right. But because I was the highest producer on my team, they didn't lay me off. And I think also because I had been sick a year and a half before and I had to take a medical leave.
Okay.
And also I was over 50, probably in the HR end, the backside, like we can't lay her off, she'll sue for discrimination.
Right.
So after I wasn't laid off, one of my coworkers, who also was not laid off, she approached HR and was like, can I actually take the severance package? And she got greenlit for it. And I had a jealous rage like I have never had in my life.
Right.
And so that encouraged me and emboldened me to do the same thing for myself. And it happened so fast. I had the conversation with HR, and 4 hours later, I had a legal document to sign, and they were like, bye. It was crazy. But walking away from the matrix is something that a lot of people don't realize that they can do. There's so much fear in, can you support yourself?
Yeah.
Can you manage your own finances? Can you actually get paid for what you want to be doing rather than this fitting yourself into this thing? How do you give women that push out the door?
How do I
give women the courage to make
First of all, it's taking stock of what you know, because I think, we kind of lose sight of that a little bit in the corporate world. I mean, yeah, you've got your annual performance review, but let's just face it, those are never really like a full accurate, prediction or account of your performance and your potential in the organization. Your boss can't see everything that you did. I also lived geographically, half a country away from where my boss lived. I was in Western Canada. They were in Eastern Canada. They couldn't possibly see everything that I was doing, the impact that I was having, or not, maybe on some days. So I think the reality is that, if you've been in corporate for a while, and this is where I work with midlife women that have, I appreciate maybe there's somebody listening today that's in the, 20 something, the beginnings of their career. Great. Think about potentially what your plan B is at 40. But I'm talking about to the women that are right now in that space, is that we forget all of our accomplishments, our achievements. Unless we're writing it down and journaling ourselves, our performance review for the last year, whether or not we give that to our boss, but keeping track of it, we forget the things that people count on us for. And so, that was my journey in that year when I took that year off. I was like, yeah, what could I do if I started a business? And I know that a lot of us ask that question. Now that I'm in it, I'm like, it's so obvious, like coaching other people to start businesses, because that's what I was doing when I was working in business. I was an operations person. I helped people in multi-unit locations, franchise organizations, retail, hospitality start their businesses. And so why wouldn't I do that now in my own business and do it on my terms? But I think we forget about those accomplishments. So the first thing I would always say is like, take stock, go back, and that you might be like, well, I don't know if anyone else would use it. Don't worry yet about the competition. Don't worry yet about who your clients will be. Just take stock of who you are And then what do you want it to be? Create that new vision for yourself. And always the caveat would be too, is not just the business, but also the life that you want. Because sometimes we design a business for burnout. We design the 24/7 burnout, which I learned like kind of the hard way. And I also coach a lot of women that I work with, is like design the business for like the fact that you're going to be on the planet for another 50 years.
Yeah.
And so business needs to support your health, your wellness, your relationships, your wealth. It's not just like, how do we get quick, 7-figure business by Friday that we see on the internet all the time. It's actually like, how do we sustain ourselves through this great business that you're going to create, through this new life or this new direction in your life, this focus around the things that matter most to you.
Absolutely. I've been doing the entrepreneurial thing for a little over a year. My job in August of 2023.
Congratulations.
And thank you. But I am still struggling with things like taking days off, being afraid to like, oh, if I'm being paid by the hour, I don't have paid time off anymore. I don't have paid vacation anymore. I have my own health insurance. All these little details and things, like my billable hours are X. And then there's time that I'm working that I'm not being paid for. Do you coach women how to structure their time in their business so that those things, so they can have the whole package and still work for themselves?
Absolutely. Part of it is like some of the things that you just shared with me, hourly rates. Like we're still kind of thinking of ourselves in that corporate time, whether you were on hour, paid by the hour, paid by salary, had bonuses, had benefits plans. We're still kind of operating sometimes in that space. And we do need to cleanse ourselves from that. We also need to cleanse ourselves from the 5-day work week and weekends off, and not to say that you need to be working 24/7 in your business, but sometimes it's better for me to work on a Saturday morning when literally the house is quiet because I work from home. My business is entirely virtual. Teenagers, young adults that we have in our house, there's 7 humans that come and rotate out of our house on a periodic basis, but none of them get up before like 2 on a Saturday. So the house is quiet. That might be the best time for me to work on my business. Maybe not work with clients because they might not want to work on a Saturday, but work on my business. And then maybe I take a Wednesday off. So I think that's one of the things that I've realized is that when I started my business, yes, I was kind of working Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, kind of keeping that schedule, being productive. And it didn't feel great because the other thing that I also realized when I started my business, I was going through perimenopause. So 8 to 5, brain fog, or a really bad bout of insomnia the night before, like I wasn't productive at 8 a.m. anymore. I don't get productive until 10 or 11. That's why I'm like liking this podcast time right now. It's like 11 o'clock my time. Like this is when I'm in my zone of genius, not at like 7 o'clock or 6 o'clock when my boss used to text me and I worked in corporate.
Yeah.
So I think that's the other thing, is design a business that works for you. And this productivity that we had to, mirror or emulate in our corporate days looks very different as an entrepreneur. And yeah, there's going to be days or weeks where you need to pull in like 50, 70 hours, whatever that looks like. But then like I don't work Fridays. Like I don't work Mondays, like with clients. Like I can design my business how I want to show up. So I would recommend people to kind of cleanse that whole like 5-day work week, hourly, schedules. This is when I'm productive. Like you decide. It's like, hey, you know what? I want to work on my business between 7 and 9 at night because I'm, really great at working at night. Great. Then take, the morning off.
Yeah. I think that's something I'm still adjusting to. And I have to keep reminding myself, like, I'm the boss. Like, I don't have to ask anyone's permission. If it's a beautiful day out and there's nothing I have to do that's absolutely pressing, if I want to go for a walk, if I want to go to the beach, yes, I can.
If I want to work at the beach, we want to work at the beach, right? Like that's the other thing. Like bring your laptop to the beach and work outside if you want to on a nice day. The other thing that I also work with my clients on is like once you kind of get through that, and that's just like sort of your beliefs, your values, it's like rechecking in with that because you're working off of a company value system or a corporate value system where you were, honored for that productivity. And even like when you gave the story about your layoff, like you were asked to stay on because you were a top producer. So, but you fell into those norms, right? And so you can rewrite that. The second thing I would say is we don't need to offer out everything that we could possibly do. And here's the thing for midlife women is that we've been on the planet for 40, 50, 60 years. We know a lot. We can do a lot. You don't have to do that anymore in your business. You don't need to prove yourself to say, you know what, I can do 50 things. Because let's face it, in our corporate job, we may have had a job description, but we were doing like, 20, 30, 40% more than whatever was on our job description and not getting paid for it and even getting paid when our male counterparts for it. There's all that stuff. So, but we have that mindset still that we have to show up. We have to be that way. So we have to be that way for our clients. We can do 50 things for our clients. What if you just did one thing for a group of clients and you did it really well over and over again? And your technology supported that. So you could do some things on auto. You have systems, you have like great client experiences, great testimonials. You're known for this one thing on the planet and you can just do it over and over again. You're the expert in it. Versus I'm a jack of all trades. I can do everything. Again, we're taking that corporate, that corporate way of working, that corporate definition of productivity, and we're applying that to our business. And I'm going to say that that's probably, I learned it myself the hard way. It's probably the fast ticket to burnout, trying to do all those things. Because you don't have the team, you don't have the other people, you don't have an IT desktop support, group that can help you out on some of these things. And now you've got to outsource it. You got to hire the copywriters, the IT people, the depth design people. So just as much as you're making the money, you start losing it because you're trying to do these 50, 60 things for clients. What if you just did one thing?
How do you help women hone down to what their best one thing is? Because a lot of people are multi-passionate.
Mm-hmm.
They are multi-talented. And also, I think under being multi-passionate and being multi-talented, I think people are afraid. They're afraid to niche all the way down because they're like, well, maybe I won't make enough money doing that one thing. Maybe, if my one thing is I bake really, really good cookies, but like somebody wants me to do calligraphy, maybe I can also do calligraphy, even though it has nothing to do with cookies. But I'll need that $100 or I need that $1,000 to pay my rent.
Don't you just feel exhausted thinking about that right now? Like I'm already like doing it into a state of overall hearing you tell me about all those options. So number one, I would say is build a business around your expertise. And there's 8 billion people on the planet. There's lots of options. Jeff Bezos, Amazon, they don't work with 8 billion people, right? Like they haven't got there yet. They're not like necessarily getting everything from 8 billion people. So, and nor do I want 8 billion people in my business. I don't need to service 8 billion people on the planet. So I just sort of put that into perspective. Like there's a lot to go around. And as long as I'm clear on what I do and what I do well, and now I build up an audience that needs that because either one, they've always been looking for me and they just didn't know I existed because I was trying to appeal to 20 different options. My marketing, my messaging, all of that is just now getting like distorted and skewed. How can I keep up with it? I'm not going to sound consistent. I'm going to be, reacting to this. How could you be an expert in all of those 20 things? Not to undermine your strengths and abilities, but let's face it, there's a few things that you do really, really well. Yeah, you could make the chocolate chip cookies and you could do calligraphy and you can do embroidery. But out of those 3 things, there's probably one that you do really, really well, that people count on you for, that, you can do kind of like blindfolded on a roller coaster, doing loop-de-loops, like you can just do it in your sleep. And my other thing would be is like, if you could just create a business just around that one thing and do it really well, and you have this creative like juices flowing, go get a hobby, get outside, go for a walk, make a new friend. This is this whole thing about, for me, I call it getting aligned AF, as fuck, if I can swear on your podcast.
That's fine.
In your life and your business. Like your business isn't like, you don't go from your career that was 24/7 to now a business 24/7. Somewhere in there, you've got to redirect that energy, that creative, that innovation into things in your other parts of your life. Like go back and, work on your relationship with your spouse. If you feel that's going down, like, I didn't learn that. I learned that the hard way in my career. Like my career was like the most important thing. And somewhere in there, I was at the bottom of the list. And even below that was the person I was married to for, and with for 23 years. So this is the time. It's like, go back and work on your health. Go back and work on your relationship with your partner, your spouse. Go get a partner or a spouse if that's what you want, if you don't have one at this stage. Go work on your relationship with your kids or your estranged relationship with your sister. Like, this is where it's like, you don't have to put all your energy into your business. And actually, it's more targeted. It's more effective. The other thing I would also say is if you have that idea, like, okay, I could create another revenue stream, I could create another offer for my clients, great. Do it when that first offer that you're really good at doing is generating 80% of your total revenue. Pay the bills, feel comfortable that you can stay on this entrepreneurial journey. Don't regret your choices, right? So focus on that one thing, do it really well, produce 80% of your revenue, get your systems, your operations in line, and then start a new revenue stream. Because you've got this money coming in to support this new innovation on the side that you can put time and effort into. Or now you've built up that primary offer that you can hire some people on your team. You can build in the technology to automate some things and that it's still running and your customers are still happy versus spreading yourself thin and just not being able to maintain it.
Yeah. I think a lot of people get so anxious when they step out from the corporate bubble that they feel like they have to have a million offers, right?
Yeah.
You feel like they have to, like when I first stepped out, I was doing therapy.
Mm-hmm.
I have a license. So I'm doing therapy. I'm
Right.
reading tarot cards. I'm doing astrology readings. I'm doing EFT tapping.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to run a retreat. I mean, it was too many things at once.
Yeah.
And I was doing a podcast. So I'm like,
I love it. And again, like multi-talented, congratulations. You are like so capable of doing so many things. But here's my thing is that for you, it becomes a lot, right? And maybe you like doing a lot of things and that's cool. The other thing for your clients or the people that you're trying to attract into your orbit, they may not be able to like, okay, should I use you for this? Should I use you for that? What do you think is best?
Yeah.
And so that's where one of the things that's like part of like my signature offer that I help a lot of my clients out with is figuring out what's your signature offer. But the second thing is how to get off discovery calls where I have to convince people or sort through all their stuff and go, okay, we could do this option, you could do this. And here's the cheesecake menu on all the things that I offer versus it's just so clear when you come to my Instagram page, I do this one thing. And if it's not for you, that's okay. 8 billion people on the planet.
right.
And be okay with people saying no to you and you saying no to them. But then the other thing is that once they're in your orbit, sorry, I have a dog that's fussy. But once they're in your orbit and they signed up for that one thing for you, you can always sell them something else. You can always ascend them into another offer. You can be like, you know what, now that we've worked on this with you, here's another option that might be available to you. And the beauty of that is that they now trust you because you were able to deliver on that one offer really, really well to them. That they may say, yeah, you know what, I'm ready for this second thing. I'm ready for this third thing. And now they're with you for the next 5-10 years of your business versus I have to go out and find 500 more people to work with.
That's amazing. I really, really like that. Do you also help new entrepreneurs with the meat and potatoes structure part of their business? All the digital, like back, the goddamn funnels.
Why don't people like funnels? I like funnels. I've got a hard time.
The automation, the email list, and all the tech,
all the bells. Yes,
all the tech stuff that's supposed to make life easier, but you spend half your day trying to find where's your Google Drive, and why and how is it plugged into your stupid Squarespace,
right?
And you're asking ChatGPT at the same time. Crying.
Yes, I know. It's like eventually you'll have a robot in your business and they'll just be right there. So like ChatGPT was great. Like I know a lot of people like got frustrated about it, but I love it because I can ask them like, where is this? Where do I find this? How do I do this? What's the best YouTube video telling me how to do something? It's a great way to sort of look for things in your business. But so the quick answer is yes. So inside my community membership, I have resources, tools, lots of like sort of, do it yourself pathways to get you to be able to accomplish those things. But like not just like, here's how you build a funnel, bye. It's actually we'll create your freebie offer together and we'll give you examples of what those look like and actual templates that you can just download, plug your content into it and now launch it so that you can now attract people into your email list. And then you need a sequence to like nurture people into your email list to potentially look at your offers or connect with you in some way through a masterclass. We've got that. Script it out, download it, click on it, adjust it for your business. Oh, and then you want to take them to a masterclass. Great. We've got the workshop deck on how to lead a masterclass and continue to nurture those people so that they eventually buy your offer. And so we've got that all mapped out for you. And inside the community, so you can come to live sessions. Like last week, I taught like a 3-day live masterclass with members in the community around how to build out all of these systems so that you can have this automated business. You can be selling while you sleep. Like when people say, oh, you can sell while you sleep. It's like, no, you actually need to build it so they can do it. So I worked through all of it. And then I showed them where all the free resources, templates, tools are so they can just go and do it. And you can come into the community for $5 a month.
Wow.
You get all of that. And we bring in speakers, so it's like, oh, you need to learn how to make hooks or ads. Like, so next week we've got Sarah Weiss coming in to our community. This is being recorded in December. And she'll be coming in to teach us how to do that. So I bring in guest mentors, or we'll utilize members inside the community that are also experts on certain things. Like we've got Pinterest experts. You want to start a Pinterest account? Great. Camille's going to show you how to do that. So we actually like help the members get business from other existing members. So, and it's only $5 a month, because here's the thing is that I don't want a woman right now in their corporate job thinking I have to join a $20,000 mastermind, or I have to hire 20 people in my business to get this all set up. Now I have to dive into my 401k plan or my RSP plan and cash in my retirement savings to start my business. No, you don't need to do that. I want you to lean in on your strengths, the things that you know you can develop, and you can start making money. And we'll show you how to build all those systems for $5 a month.
And how much hand-holding would somebody get if they were super anxious, super nervous about like the tech stuff, if they were like crying over the automation, they couldn't figure out how to do the stupid, automated DMs on Instagram, which is the new thing, all that stuff. Like, do you help them with that? Like understand it and maybe you don't even have to understand it. Do you help them figure out how to actually connect everything?
Yeah. So there's like, again, inside the community, there's all the do-it-yourself that you can do for $5 a month. But if you're like, Brenda, I just don't even want to look at that stuff. I don't even want to learn how to do it. I just want to like get it off my plate. Then yes, then we have like done for you services. It's outside of the community. I would always say to somebody, join the community so you know what we're doing. Because that's the other thing is that sometimes people outsource the things that you were talking about to an IT, services or to a marketing agency, and they go off and build it and they give it back to you. And then you're like, okay, now what do I do? And if you never understood the back end technology to begin with, someone's like created this email system for you. But the reality is that you need to go in there and monitor it. Like you can't just build an email sequence and just let it sit there for the next 10 years. Things change. Your audience wants more from you. Some emails are going to perform better than others. You're going to want to go in and tweak it and edit it. So then you're going to have to hire the agency back again to do all of that. So we want to show you how to do it inside the community. But then if you're like, hey, you know what, I want you to just build it for me, then we have done for you services and you can hire us. So I say us, there's me and my team. So these are all like freelancers that used to work for me in my corporate jobs, on my marketing teams, on my IT teams, on my operations teams that have all freelanced and gone off on their own too, in their own businesses. But we liked each other at corporate, so now they're all working with me again. They build out my systems, my tools, but then they also do it for my clients.
That's amazing. That's actually really, really helpful. What are and this might be a too big of a question, but I'm going to try anyway.
Yeah,
what
sure.
are the 3 most important skills that someone would have to have, do you think? Be successful as an entrepreneur? Because a lot of people throw themselves out there and then you hear those scary statistics like what percentage of businesses fail in their first year, in their first 5 years.
75, 85%. Yeah. Yeah.
It's something really. So what do you think are like the 3 skills or qualities that someone would have to have in order to be successful?
Yeah. So they're really boring. The first one is you need to go for the vision, but not necessarily in the sense of like, oh, I can be visionary and just like, I'm going to have it all by Friday. No, like you need to have a vision that's very like, this is what my life is going to be about. This is what I want my business to be about. And these are the values that are going to guide my vision. Your values help you make your decision. So for example, I value integrity. So for me, it's like before I put in a new system or a new, component of an offer, I want to make sure that it works. Like I want the client experience, whatever I say it's going to be, to actually hold true to that. So that's something I value. So whenever I work with a digital expert, I'll be like, okay, it needs to do this. Yeah, it might work sometimes, Brenda. I'm like, then we don't do it, because I want the integrity of what I promised on my sales page to actually be true. That might not be a value that you have as a business owner, and that's cool, but you need to have values in there to guide your decision making. Otherwise, you're going to be flopping all over the place. The second thing I think that's really important is the discipline around, we're not going to boil the ocean. We're going to niche down. We're going to have one offer. Someone's going to tell me to go build a course or do this or do this. No, I'm going to just do one offer until I get to 80% total revenue. So you need to have the discipline to stay focused on that, because there are going to be lots of shiny things out there. And that's where it's like, I say it's boring, right? Like, your business doesn't need to be your creative outlet. Like, go paint, go learn knitting, go take a dance class if you need more creativity in your life, but keep your business boring. So be disciplined around what you're doing in your business this year. And I would,
I'm sorry. That actually reminds me of when I was a little kid and my mom was teaching me how to cook.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, just learn how to make a meatloaf, a roasted chicken, and, a good stew. Like, we're going to learn those three things, and we can build off everything else from that.
Yeah. That's definitely good advice, because I love meatloaf and I love roasted chicken, and they're good for leftovers. So, it's like a couple meals in one. It's exactly that, right? And like, once you build out that signature offer, then you can figure out, okay, what's the technology that's going to help me automate it? I can figure out how I'm managing my cash flow. So it's just putting those disciplines in place. And then I would say the third thing is learning about boundaries. You need to have boundaries.
As you were talking, I'm like getting this like thread of text messages from one of my therapy patients. And I'm like, it is Friday. It is the Friday after Thanksgiving. Why is this person texting me?
Yeah. Boundaries are going to be so important.
And I'm so compelled to like answer it. I'm like, don't you dare answer that, Kate. Don't.
Yeah. And here's the thing that I, love about my business is that my clients love working with me. So there's that instant, gratification, just knowing how, like, from a neuroscience standpoint, that, our brain is looking for low effort, instant gratification, and low pain, right? No pain. So, getting the text messages, instant gratification, but it doesn't necessarily help us. And I'm not giving you feedback here, coaching you, but it doesn't necessarily help us out sometimes in our business. And so we need to put in systems, processes to help set boundaries for us. If you are somebody that says yes easily, technology can be your friend, in the sense of, oh, can I book some time with you? So, like, here's just an example of how I set boundaries up. People would want to book time with me to talk to me. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is great. I can talk to people, and not even to sell to them, although they would eventually say, I'm interested in one of your offers. So what I put in place was just a Friday networking call. I started doing it in July, and I'm like, yeah, if you want to connect with me, you want to see what my vibe is all about, see if I'm going to be a good person to work with, come to my Friday networking call. And on this call are a bunch of other midlife entrepreneurs, midlife women entrepreneurs that I work with. Some have worked with me as clients, some are members in my community, some are just people in my orbit. Come to the call 9 to 10 Pacific time on Friday mornings and see if you like the space that I'm in. And, it's kind of like, if we never talk again, that's okay, but that's where I am. Versus I used to have like 30, can we just chat calls?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it would just like overload me, right? And I just didn't know how to set that boundary. So, sometimes it's like, I know like there's lots of different practices are out there around setting boundaries. Sometimes it's just saying no, but I wouldn't want to say no to people in the sense of like, no, I don't want to have a call with you. I just had to figure out what's the best outlet for me and my business. And then I could set a boundary, but it was still a very, compassionate place. Like, it's like, no, I don't want to talk to you. No, how about you come to my Friday networking call and we can connect there. Plus you can connect to other entrepreneurs too.
That's really smart, because I think as women, unfortunately we are programmed to be people pleasers.
Yeah.
To respond to every single thing that's even like a whiff of, doesn't even have to be a crisis. It can be like a desire, a need, a momentary like inquiry. And we think that everything is something that has to be addressed in that moment. Because we just want to keep everyone happy. We want to be nice. We want to be passionate. We want to be helpful. And all those things are great things to be. But when you are constantly pulled by other people's desires and drives, there's nothing left for you. And you can't live your life like that, especially when you're a grown-ass woman over 45 years old. You have to pull back a little bit and see how you spent that whole time helping other people. You have to spend some time like, well, what do I need? What do I want?
Yeah. And, I go on different calls. I've been in different masterminds, and I think that's probably the common thing. And I'm not saying this to be critical of women that are listening to this podcast today, but, I'll sit there and I'll hear from people, other business owners, and they'll be like, they're hearing from this coach about you need to put this in their business. And they'll be like, but I can't, like, I don't know where I have the time to do that. And I'm like, if this is like the most critical thing to unlock in your business, like, okay, your business isn't profitable right now and you're not seeing any cash flow, and here's like the tool that's going to help unlock that for you. That is probably a critical thing, like long term for your business, to figure out cash flow management. But you're saying you don't have time now. I bet I could get you 5 hours back this week somehow. Like, like get rid of all these nice to do calls, get rid of, have one signature offer, stop, launching 25 things in a year, and just like, that's where, we were talking earlier about like, I just have like evergreen programs. They're just like, here we go. Like, I don't have launch cycles anymore. I did that, but it's just like, I can get you time back by just sort of focusing on a few key things in your business. And so that you can then get more sleep, especially as a midlife woman. Go work on your nutrition, get more protein, whatever those things are. Go work with other service providers out there that you need from like your health or your wealth standpoint. So
yeah, it's like perfectly positioning yourself, because I mean, let's get real. We're going to live a long life. We're going to be here, with modern medicine and the technology that's available and the advances we've made and the lives that we've lived. It's likely if you're 50, you're likely here another 35 years.
Yeah.
And most people I know, even if they can afford to retire, like they're interested, they're engaged in the world. They want to be providing. They want to be contributing to society. They want to be helping other people and earning money, right? So that they can not just sit there with their, little, 401k distribution and their Social Security if they live in the United States, but they want to live a really full life, a happy life that they can travel and do things that requires income, right?
Yes.
So if I'm going to be working until I'm 80 or 75 or 78 or whatever, 85, I want to be doing work that's manageable, that's sustainable like physically and emotionally, spiritually. And that requires having like one thing or two things that I do, not 50 things.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, keeping your business boring, really, at the end of the day. And I know that's like, a bit of a detractor, because it's like, oh, leave your corporate job and do what you love. Do what you love, but like put it on like, like have some like autopilot functionality in your business so that you don't need to be working 24/7, that you can go do all these other things because you earned it. Like you've been working for 25 years, 35 years, depending on where you are in that journey. And why not build a business that also allows you that freedom, that space to do the things that you also wanted to have time to do? Because you, like I said earlier, like I was traveling 3 weeks out of a month. When was I going to go take a vacation longer than a week? Never. Now I can take vacations for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, but I also can bring my business with me because I'm fully automated. And not that I, choose my business over going away, but we tested it out. Like my partner and I, we went to Switzerland in October, and I said, I want to keep some of the calls going with my community. I don't want to like just say I'm off the grid for 2 weeks. And like, can we do that? And he's like, yeah, let's try it. Like, because I didn't want it to be like I'm not present on our vacation. But it was perfect because I set my calls for 7 p.m. Europe time, where I was based in Europe, so that it would still be okay for North America. And we could go out during the day, do our stuff, and then I could just jump on a call with my community membership for an hour, and it was fine. And I didn't feel like, over pressured for work. But I was like, could we do this for 2 months? Could we do this longer? Like,
yeah.
So
the freedom of time and freedom of location is so valuable at this stage of your life. It really, really is. And that's so inspiring that you're able to do that. Is your community like on a platform like Kajabi or Circle or Facebook, or where does it live?
It lives on School. So
nice.
if people are familiar with School is like a pretty slick platform. It's a community into itself. Like, so if you have a host of a community on School, there's a whole bunch of stuff for hosts that you can take part in, trainings, all that sort of stuff. And they're great. There's like competitions, like to get up on leaderboards if you're into that. But the cool thing too is that your community that you start on school can just be kind of separate from all that activity too. So you don't have to engage your members in that part of the school community vibe. You can just have your community on there and nurture your members all to yourself. But it's great. I was on a previous platform and we moved the community and the members over in September to school. And it's just been a dream. Like the old community that we had on another platform, it was a learning management system, and they just sort of tacked on a community platform, but it was never great. The communication was lousy. You could never see posts. You could never see when the live sessions were scheduled. This just is so slick. Everything's like click of a button. It's really easy to implement as a host, and the members love it. Like people that were in my community before who I'd never hear from because they could never find anything or never see anything. Now they're like in their daily, weekly, like engaged with the content. So it's super cool to see kind of like this sort of like new lease on our community.
That's amazing. Do you think that women are at this age are uniquely positioned to be entrepreneurs, like Gen X women?
Yeah. Here's a couple of things that I know is true about Gen X women or midlife women, depending on how you want to phrase us. As you mentioned earlier, we were developed to be people pleasers. So naturally, then we're going to be really great at client experiences. So regardless if you've worked in marketing or sales, like in your previous job, you're just going to be naturally inclined to deliver an amazing client experience, which I think for online businesses is huge for 2025. I think the online consumer is a lot more, I mean, like we're not talking about buying a shower curtain off of Amazon. We're talking about maybe engaging like in some of the work that you're doing around therapy or mindfulness practices, and you're charging hundreds, maybe thousands of dollars for a service. People, in the past, over the last 4 or 5 years, consumed a lot of those services or products at a click of a button. Now they're actually like being a little bit more like, whether or not they got the great service or not, they've been burned. And so anyone that's starting a business today, unfortunately, you're inheriting that track record a bit. But the cool thing is that if you are a midlife woman entrepreneur and you're inclined to be a people pleaser, then you're going to be inclined to give your clients the best service. And that will be the differentiator, I think, for anybody in an online business going forward, is that you put your clients first and you offer a great experience for them versus just like, oh, I've got a service and I'm checking out and, do it yourself and see you later. Yeah. So I think that's going to be key. I think the other reason why we're really great entrepreneurs is, it's just a stat in the US right now. I think 25% of women-led businesses, of that 25%, 55% of them are midlife women.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, we just have a strong propensity to do it. We recognize that, hey, you know what, we've fed into the message probably when we were younger that we could do it all, have it all, regardless of our schooling, privilege, etc. But just that message, right? The Cheryl Teagues, the Mary Tyler Moore, whatever, that were our role models back then, that we could do it all, have it all. So we did do it. And so we know a lot. And so that's like an advantage to us, is that we're not starting from scratch. We don't have to necessarily try and figure out a ton of things, but we do need to narrow our focus, which we've talked about already, just being disciplined on picking that one thing. And then I think the third thing is that we're just strong physically. We can do multi things. We've had babies, we've built homes, we've managed businesses, we've worked for other people, we've cared for seniors in our family. Like, we can just do a lot of things, and we're strong, like physically, I think, in that capacity. Yeah. We're stronger than the boomers. Yes, we may have like perimenopause, all those things that we're sort of dealing with, but I think we're just physically strong. And the message that you said is that we're going to live for another 35. Heck, I'm like planning on 100. So
yeah. And we're resilient because I think, Gen X, we didn't have, most of the friends I have, and maybe you've had this experience as well, is our parents were like a little checked out. They were like, go run outside.
We're the latchkey kids.
Yeah.
Like,
come back when it's dark.
Yeah, come back when it's dark. Like, I'd be like gone for hours as a kid.
Yeah, no one knew where I was. I didn't have a juice box. I didn't have snacks. It was just like
I wasn't checking in with anybody. Hopping around to other people's houses. I'm like, I don't know how I ate, but I figured it out. Like,
we're masters at figuring it out.
Yeah.
Which I think,
and that was the thing too. We're also the generation that grew up with the technology boom, right? Figuring out how to plug in the VCR for our parents, like, taking on some elements of programming if we needed to, whatever that is, wiring everybody's stuff, and we've gone through all the generations of Lotus notes to email to texting, different
Yeah.
phones, all that sort of stuff. And we've just adapted along the way.
Yeah, we are uniquely positioned.
Hmm.
How does someone join your community? How do the listeners who are so excited to hear you talk and are so lit up by your message and what you're offering, how do they get on? How do they get
Yeah,
on?
well, I mean, it's just literally a click of a button and it's a super easy sign up. Like I mentioned, it's $5 a month, but you can find me on Instagram. That's where I love to hang out. And it's usually like the second post, right? Or you can go to the link in bio on my Instagram and click on the community link there. But if you're okay with it, I'd share it with your members and you could put it in the caption and it'd just be a really easy sign up for them. Plus, there's a 7-day trial too. So when you come into the community, you can test it out for 7 days. You can come to some live sessions. You can download the courses, take a welcome sequence for your email marketing and use it if you want, test it all out, and then decide to become a full-on member.
Awesome. I'm going to add it to the show notes. I really appreciate your time and your energy. You've got great energy. And
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to talk to you.
Thanks, Kate, for having me on. It's been awesome.
Thank you so much for listening to Your Magical Midlife. I'm Kate Higgins, your host. You can follow me on Instagram at Your Magical Midlife, and you can check out my offerings on my website, yourmagicalmidlife.com. I offer individual and small group coaching, as well as luxury retreats for women in midlife and beyond who are seekers, dreamers, and unconventional thinkers. You can book a complimentary discovery call in the calendar link in my show notes. If you've enjoyed this episode, I'd appreciate it if you left a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or share this episode with a friend. And I will talk to you next week.